Hey guys, Cam315 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another monthly manga chapter review of Dragon Ball Super. Yes, Dragon Ball Super, this arc. That surprisingly, not many people have liked this little prequel arc to the Dragon Ball Super Hero arc. Now, I'll say this, I don't like the fact that they're retelling the Dragon Ball Super Hero storyline in manga when we've already seen the movie for it, but okay, it is what it is. I rather would have just did this little mini prequel arc. Then you can, whenever the movie comes out on DVD, you can just watch it there, and then they can just be like, okay, sometime after the event, the next chapter 91 could be sometime after the events of, you know, Dragon Ball Super Hero. Like, I don't know why they just don't do that, but they want to do their telling in the manga. But it's funny because it's like, well, back with the Broly movie, they didn't want to go do a manga retelling of the Broly movie, but for the Dragon Ball Super Hero movie, they want to do a manga retelling. That's the one thing that I'm like, I don't know why they're doing that, but I know not a lot of people like this prequel arc. There's some people that do like it. You know, I honestly get a kick. I honestly enjoy it. My thing is, people were asking for slice of life stuff with the manga, and then they wanted a focus on Trunks and Goten. Now, I think people are mad because it isn't the focus of Trunks and Goten that they thought they were going to get, but regardless, we still got Trunks and Goten content that everybody was clamoring they wanted to see. You get it. Deal with it. And it's only 3 chapters. Now, maybe it's also because this is a monthly release. If it was a weekly release, then maybe it's not as bad as what people are trying to say, but Dragon Ball Super is a monthly manga series, which I wish they kind of went to a weekly series again, but I understand, you know, and things like that. But anyways, this is Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 90, titled Versus Dr. Hedo. The first page is a color spread of Trunks and Goten, which, if you do a side-by-side comparison to the last cover art for Dragon Ball Super, it's literally the cover art of Goku kind of somersaulting over Bardock as Bardock's on the ground. Trunks is doing that in the Goku pose while Goten is in the pose of what Bardock was doing. I'm not trying to say they're not reusing a bunch of art, but holy shit, man, could you be a little bit more inventive with what you're doing, Toritaro? Like, why are we using a cover art page of copy paste and things like that? But okay, maybe it saves him less drawing time and things like that. So yes, anyways, we start the chapter off with Krillin looking around, and he's asking civilians if he's seen Dr. Hedo around, or if he's looking for these zombies that know of this guy named Dr. Hedo. And this one guy redirects him into this like convenience store. Now he goes on and says, look, I finally found you zombies from Mount Butterfly. Listen, I got some questions to ask you about your boss, Dr. Hedo. We need you to come to the station and answer these questions. We're like, oh, okay. Now Krillin ends up seeing Mai in the same convenience store, and he's like, oh, you're one of Pilaf's friend. And she's like, oh yeah. That's kind of the thing there. Now, okay, this goes to show you that, okay, maybe they know who Pilaf is, and they're just like, okay, this is Pilaf. We know him from when Goku was a kid. I'll just let him do what he needs to do. I think they're aware that it's clearly the Pilaf game from the original Dragon Ball, but alright, we'll see. Anyways, we cut over from that moment, and we cut over to Goten. He's riding the Nimbus Cloud playing, I guess, this PSP or DS or Nintendo Switch game or something, and everything. So then 40 minutes later, he ends up stopping at this bus stop. So in other words, it's kind of just like when Gohan, with Gohan, he would go on Flying Nimbus to Orange Star High School up until a direct point, so then people couldn't see him and tell that he's from literally Mount Paozu, which is pretty far from where their high schools were at. So yeah, that's kind of the thing there. Now, he gets on this bus. We see the one cool looking black guy we've seen this entire, the last 2 chapters. But, you know, again, we see him meet up with him and they're going on the school bus. The narrator makes the mention like, oh yeah, Goten, he flies Nimbus to get a direct point and then he gets ready for the bus. Same thing like Gohan did. The only thing is Gohan would walk to school right then and there. So yeah, now the black friend ends up asking him like, hey man, I've never, like, do you live around here? Because I never see you around here. And Goten, he obviously comes with the excuse, like, oh, because he can't tell him, like, oh, no, I live in this area, Mount Paozu. Because then they'll be like, dude, how the hell do you get here on time? It's far. Because then Goten will be like, well, then I guess I have to wake up. I wake up pretty early. But anyways, he's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm living in this area. I just don't go out a lot, you know. I'm kind of a shut-in child and things like that. So yeah, so then we have this girl pretty much saying like, oh really, well then how are you such good friends with frickin' Trunks, you know? And pretty much Goten's like, well, you know, we're kind of like cousins, you know, we're family friends, our parents know each other, they've been friends their entire lives, so we practically kind of grew up together, we're like cousins, and things like that, which is the analogy that he throws out. But in reality, Goten and Trunks, they've known each other since they were kids, so of course, I would say they're not like cousins, they're more like brothers, like step brothers, but I guess the cousin thing can play into the whole aspect right then and there. So yes, that's kind of the thing. Now this girl ends up asking Goten like, hey, do you think you could do me a favor? And Goten's like, oh yeah, sure. She pretty much brings to the mention that there's this dance that is coming up at their high school, and that she would like Goten ask Trunks if Trunks is willing to go out with her to this dance. Now, first things first, I just want to say is, well, if this is a girl that wants to go out with this guy, well, why doesn't this girl, and I think her name is like, what is it, Fulia, or, yeah, Fula, yeah, Fula, and things like that, so, that's kind of there, Fula. I don't know why Fula doesn't just be a responsible person, just go up to Trunks and just ask her herself out. So that's the thing. But you know, Trunks or Goten's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to accept. He's thinking that in his head and everything, but you know, he's thinking like he's probably gonna ask Mai out to this dance and things like that. Now, Filer, it's Filer, not Fuller, Filer. So Goten's like, oh, I don't know, Filer. I don't know if he's gonna go out to this thing. I don't really ask him. And she's like, what? You've just said you're practically like cousins. Why can't you just ask him? But then the black guy's, well, Trunks is pretty popular. He's got the swag, so maybe he's already got a date and everything like that. But Goten's like, nah, he really hasn't asked him. Like, he really hasn't asked anybody, or anything. I don't think, you know, he's even going. But all of a sudden, the bus takes a normal stop, and there's this other, you know, android called Beta number 7 who just looks like Elvis Presley. So, another thing Toriyama/Toritaro's drawing homage to. This guy looks like Elvis Presley. So, this Elvis Presley looking android is calling for Goten to come out and confront him and everything, and we find out that this has been going on for the past couple of days and things like that. So Goten has been dealing with these androids, these different betas, for quite a while. So it must seem like he must have been dealing with 6 betas, going on the 7th now and everything. The beta in says like, I know you're one of the great Saiyamans and things like that. So you might as well come out and just reveal yourself. Now, that's kind of the thing there. So anyways, Goten's black friend's like, hey man, get out the back and just get out of here and make escape. And Goten's like, oh yeah, sure, and everything. Anyways, Goten escapes out the back of the window, the bus window. He goes into his Saiyaman X2 gear, and practically, you know, that's kind of thing. He has a little fight with this Elvis Presley looking android. And the funny thing about Filer and then the black friend whose name we don't know yet, unless they already revealed it, I loved how Filer is like, you know what's actually pretty funny? That Saiyaman X2 ends up showing up right after Goten leaves. Like, it's absolutely hilarious. that she made. And funny enough, Filer, this chapter was absolutely hilarious with some of the facial directions. the faces she gives this chapter, man. Filer might be my favorite girl already. Goten, I think you found your first girlfriend, bro. If this is it. But absolutely hilarious. Filer, she makes a good point, and even the black friend's like, oh yeah, you are right about that. I'm like, oh, so she knows that that's more than likely Goten as the Saiyaman. Funny enough, which is a dead giveaway that they're like super fighters and things like that, which I guess they shouldn't be shocked, because in the last chapter, Goten literally raised a truck just to get this freaking softball or this tennis ball or whatever for these girls, and he just picked it up with utter ease, and these girls are like, what the hell, bro? So I think the black guy and then Filer knows that, okay, Goten must have some superhuman abilities or something like that. And the crazy thing is, they're actually not reacting to it like in a crazy sense. They're just like, oh, okay, huh, cool. So maybe this generation isn't as crazy when it comes to these superpowered individuals. Now, again, they don't see that on an everyday basis, but hey, maybe they're just like, okay, I guess we'll just move on. So, yes, I don't know. Maybe Goten will do something to impress Filer, because we see later in the chapter, he ends up going out to the dance with Filer. Maybe they're setting up a potential relationship angle with Goten and Filer. Eventually, maybe Goten does something heroic for her. Even though, if we ever cut back to whatever Goten and Trunks does after the superhero arc. But, maybe he impresses her and maybe she starts to fall for him more than Trunks. Because we know that Filer and Goten are in the same grade. Everything. Because Trunks is in a grade higher than Goten and these people. Anyways, after Goten defeats the Elvis Presley looking android, we cut over to Blue Hall High School. We see Trunks, one of Trunks' friends. I forgot this guy's name. He ends up giving Trunks these flyers, and his flyers to this dance that is going to have Clean God there. And obviously his friend's like, oh yeah, the real Clean God's going to be there. But we find out like, oh no, he's going to dress up as Clean God and try to fool everybody. Now Trunks sees it and he's like, okay, there's actually somebody I actually do want to ask out. And I'm like, oh, of course, it's Mai. So Mai walks up on this. She sees the poster and practically she's like, hey Trunks, do you want to go with me to this dance or this party? And Trunks is like, wait, really, Mai? You're asking me? I never thought you would do something like that. But yeah, sure, of course. Now we see, that's kind of the thing there. Now Trunks, he's wearing like, okay, what type of clothes I should get. Now Mai, on the other hand, we see the bug, the Dr. Gero, like android little ladybug that would always, back in Dragon Ball Z, it would spy on them and then it would get a sample of their DNA. Well, Mai actually picks up on this and she sees it a mile away. Now, that's when we cut over and Dr. Hedo's actually spying on them. And pretty much Dr. Hedo, he's like, oh, Clean God's gonna be at that high school? I've got to go. I have got to go to this freaking school dance. And it's funny because one of the freaking zombies are like, but wasn't the objective to try to find out if these guys have the disc that they stole? And Dr. Hedo's like, I don't care about that. Clean God takes top priority right now. I gotta meet him right then and there. So that's absolutely hilarious. Cut back to Goten and Trunks. Trunks tells Goten that, oh hey, Mai asked me out, so he's on cloud 9. Trunks is on cloud 9. He feels like so excited that Mai, the girl he has a crush on, he's in love with, I guess you can say, asked him out. And Trunks and Goten's like, really? Wow, okay, impressive, and things like that. Now, Trunks tells Goten, like, hey, listen, man, I can't hang out with you. I gotta go get some new clothes for my date with Mai. I'm like, okay. Anyways, Trunks or Goten in the meantime, he's like, man, how do I tell Filer, oh my gosh, how do I tell Filer that Trunks is going out with another girl? All of a sudden, we see the bug show up, the same little ladybug, but then Mai yanks Trunks over to the corner, and Goten, damn it, And Goten's like, Mai, what is going on? And pretty much Mai's like, listen, you see that little bug? That's actually a spy, and everything. Because we're being watched, and if we go home, well then it's game over for us. And things like that. Now, anyways, Mai makes the mention to Goten, like, that little tiny ladybug was created by this guy named Dr. Hedo, because she did some research and digging off screen. Now, she goes on to say, Dr. Hedo is a famous scientist around here and things like that. Now, she pretty much says, like, well, he's probably the guy sending the androids after you guys. And pretty much she's like, listen, if we take down Dr. Hedo, we can stop these androids from showing up and everything. The only thing is, Mai's like, well, nobody knows where he lives or he resides at, so that's the only problem. So I'm going to be planning to lure him out. And she thought of the idea, well, the Clean God poster showed up, and I found out that this guy, Dr. Hedo, is a big fan of Clean God. So I'm going to catch him in the act at this party and things like that. So, yeah. Now, funny enough, she has no appeal towards Clean God because, of course, she's a little bit older, and things like that. But then Goten is questioning, like, wait, you want to be the one to capture Dr. Hedo? Why do you want to do that? You know, why not just have somebody like a superhero do that job? And Mai's like, please, Goten, I'm not trying to be the damn damsel in distress anymore. And I'm just like, okay, Mai, I can respect that. I can respect you not wanting to be a damsel in distress character. You want to be on your own 2 feet. You know, you've been a bumbling idiot since the series started. And now you want to stand up for yourself. So you can kind of see how she's taking inspiration from the future version of Mai. Because we always knew that in the future Trunks arc, Mai did not like being a damsel in distress. Even though she did like future Trunks' presence, you know, around her. She didn't like future Trunks always worrying about her and being like a, you know, having Trunks see her as a damsel in distress. So it seems like we see the present Mai starting to mold into the Mai we know from the future timeline, where Mai wants to handle things on her own terms, practically be a strong-willed woman, practically be another girl we see in this series that is developing into a strong-willed woman, which we know that is the appeal for Saiyan men. They like their strong-willed women. Goku likes the strong-willed willingness of Chi-Chi, Vegeta likes the strong willingness of Bulma. Gohan, you know, he ended up having a relationship and he started liking Videl because she had a strong-willed personality, and in a way you can see why Trunks somewhat is crushing on Mai, not only because the future timeline ties, but just from the aspect that we're starting to see Mai be a little bit more assertive, being a little bit more strong-willed for her character, especially now. So it could be another reason why Trunks may be attracted to her. So yeah, now Goten's like, wait a second. Does that mean you didn't ultimately want to go with Trunks just to go with Trunks to the dance? And she's like, yeah, why, is there an issue with that? And then Goten's like, oh shit, Trunks is not gonna be happy when he finds this news out. So in a way, freaking Trunks is thinking that Mai's going with him because, oh, maybe Mai likes him. Nah, she's not going just because he likes her. She's just going so that she can stop this evil scientist. Now, Mai's like, I really probably should not told you that. Just don't tell anybody. Keep this under wraps. So, some time passed. We get to the day of the dance, and everything. We find out that Goten ended up going with Filer. Filer and Goten were a date for this dance. She's pissed off. She's giving these freaking looks where she's like, oh god, I really wanted to go with Trunks, but I had to go with you, Goten. And I'm just like, what's wrong with my man Goten? Come on, man. Hey, at least Goten's got some swag. Now, the only thing I would love to see is, man, you know, maybe Goten said, hey, Trunks is going with this my girl, but hey, you can come with me. I guarantee you, man, if they do an anime retelling of this arc, I want to see this. I want to see Goten going up to Filer and telling Filer, like, hey, Trunks is going with this with Mai, but you can come with me to the dance. I'm free for the night. Be absolutely hilarious, bro. So yes. She literally, quote unquote, from the manga, she said, "Remind me why I had to come to this thing with you, Goten." And she's given like this nonchalant attitude, like she don't give a fuck about Goten, bro. And Goten's like, "Well, you wanted to spy on Mai and everything," and obviously Father's like, "Well, duh, you picked on that," and things like that, you know. So that's kind of the thing there. Now, Trunks and Mai walks in. Trunks is wearing a suit. Mai is literally wearing a dress filled with armor on it, you know, and it's like, oh, and everybody else is like, wow, she's dressing hardcore, man. And that's kind of the thing there. Now, we cut over to Father. Father's like, the infamous Mai. I admit, she's a worthy rival. Okay, look. If this is leading to some weird love triangle angle, man, I'm sorry. I'm here for this Father comedy, bro. Father within one chapter, man, has been arguably one of my favorite Dragon Ball girls, just from the standpoint she is petty as shit over Mai and this Trunks relationship. I feel like, dare I say, is Father like a representation of the Dragon Ball community that isn't down with this Trunks Mai relationship? I feel like that's what Toritaro and Toriyama are doing. They're teasing at the community for the outcry of not liking the Mai x Trunks relationship. I'm just throwing it out there. I may be wrong on that, but listen, I'm just a guy just enjoying the content. So I honestly think it's absolutely funny. You know, Mai sees Goten and Goten's like, "Hey man, hey." Father's just giving this like, "You're taking my man from me, Mai." So that's kind of the thing. Anyways, next up, they go on to say, you know, we see Trunks' friend. He goes on to make the mention that, "Oh, I'm going to go get Clean God. You guys wait for a second while I go get him ready and everything." So everybody's happy and everything. So yeah. Anyways, Trunks is like, "Hey, we should go up front so we can get a good view." And then Maya's like, "Nah, I'll pass. You know, I can see pretty fine from here," and things like that. And Trunks is like, "Oh, okay, I'll catch up with you later," and things like that. Now, Goten walks up to Mai, and he's like, "Listen, you think Dr. Hedo's really going to show up?" And Maya's like, "Of course he's going to show up. You know, when he's going to do that, that's when I'll get him in the act." Shockingly enough, Trunks ends up running front stage and center with Dr. Hedo and has a conversation with him. They talked about Clean God stuff and everything. And that's kind of thing. But then all of a sudden, Maya comes in and she's like, "Trunks, you need to move away from him." She pulls out a literal gun on Dr. Hedo, bro. A literal gun. And she's about to shoot the gun at Dr. Hedo. But then Beta number 1 shows up. And he's like, "No, why would you be directing a weapon at somebody? Especially at this dance." So she's shocked. And we find out that Rula actually is Beta's date to this dance, bro. We find out that he ends up getting reinstalled back into school and things like that, so she was able to go with him. And the funny thing is, Rula called Beta her boo. Rula is getting banged by an android. Straight up, right then and there. Okay. Alright. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Krillin did it. So, Android 17's wife did that. So yeah. Anyways, Maya's like, "Oh, damn it." But then Krillin and the other police force come in. They say, "Dr. Hedo, you're under arrest for what you've been doing for robbing, you know, bodies from the morgue and everything." So, yeah. Anyways, we find out that Mai tipped off Krillin to this, and Maya's like, "I wish I could be the one to do it, but okay, at least you guys came." Trunks is shocked. He's like, "Wait, you're Dr. Hedo and everything?" And then obviously Dr. Hedo's like, "No." Dr. Hedo tries to escape using a smoke screen, and he tries to get away in a car, but Krillin is going to go after him. He tells the other police force, "Hey, listen, you stay back and make sure everything's okay. I'm going to go trail him alone." Reasoning, if you're wondering why he's doing that, is because he doesn't want the other police officers to see that he can do the superhuman stuff, which means fly, you know, do martial arts and things like that. Don't know why he won't do that in front of his co-workers, but okay, that's kind of the thing there. Anyways, now you have a little short few pages of Trunks and Mai talking. Now Trunks tells Mai, like, "Why were you trying to capture Dr. Hedo all on your own?" and things like that. And Mai pretty much goes on to say that she can't stand being the one who needs saving, which aka is kind of somewhat similar to what Future Mai likes. She doesn't like Future Mai. She'd always tell Future Trunks, like, no, I don't need your help all the time to save me. I can try to handle this on my own. Things like that. So again, like I said, it made the mention. This current incarnation of Mai is starting to take the roots of Future Mai, where she's trying to be more of a person that's more independent and doesn't want to rely on like Trunks or Goten to help her with certain situations, unless she absolutely needs the help and everything. So yeah. Plus, Mai gives away the reason why she ended up going you ended up getting sent to Blue Hole High School alongside Trunks. She pretty much says, like, look, Bulma wanted me to keep an eye on you to make sure you didn't get yourself into trouble. And Trunks is like, really? Was those her words or were those your words? And things like that. Anyways, one of the hostess were like, wait, the personal belongings are gone and all the bags and everything. Trunks is like, wait, does that mean mine and the disc? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm afraid so. So then that's when Mai ends up pleading with Trunks. She's like, well, aren't you going to go after him, Trunks? You can still catch up to him. Of course, because Mai knows he can do all the superhero stuff that Goku and the others can do. And she practically comes in and says, well, I mean, you're Saiyaman X1, right? And Trunks is like, wait a second. You knew about that? Because Trunks was originally going to tell her. But he's like, wait, you knew about that? I thought you thought that was the other me from the future. And Mai is like, dude, are you effing dense, bro? I realized that wasn't, even possible. She quote unquote says the next line. She says, you're the only Trunks I got in this world. Now, when I was reading this, I was like, oh, okay, Mai. You're saying that this is the only Trunks you've got in this world, which makes sense. And Trunks, he starts to get a little flustered. Motherfucker's like, the only Trunks? What are you talking about, Mai? And she's like, now listen, I don't mean it like that. So, in other words, she gave a hint, like as if she may be into Trunks, but at the same time, she shuts down the whole shit, like she's not into him. And everything. Anyways, Trunks, he pretty much like, okay, listen, Mai, I'm gonna capture Dr. Hedo. After that, I'm gonna be the coolest, strongest superhero you'll ever know. And then, please, just let me ask you out to just one date, please. And then Maya's like, at a time like this, now you want to talk about asking me out? She practically says, okay, fine, jeez. If you capture him and you come back, you can go on as many dates as you want with me. You know, whenever you ask. Just go, please stop Dr. Hedo, please. And Trunks is like, yes, ma'am. Okay. So, I'm gonna be shocked if we get a future manga chapter where we see Trunks and Mai go on a date. Huh. Now, this panel alone, I'll say this. Mai single-handedly gave the whole thing that she may be interested in Trunks, but at the same time she shot down the whole thing of potentially going out with him, like legitimately going out, even though she brought up the end like, I'll go out with you on a date. But to me it sounded like a way it's like, I'm just gonna go out on a date with you so you can freaking go get that guy. I wouldn't be shocked the next time we see these two in the same room together, she's like, oh please, I was just getting you to go get Dr. Hedo, I didn't really mean that. So that will leave Trunks. But just this panel alone, it shows me, okay, the whole, you're the only Trunks I've got, that's kind of a slight thing that, okay, she may be interested in Trunks, it just hasn't clicked yet. Now, the reason why she ended up, now, again, if you go back to chapter 89, when she got saved by Trunks, she was impressed and she did look like she fell for Trunks a bit. Now, maybe she's hiding her true feelings deep down and she doesn't want to admit it to Trunks that no, she does have some sort of feelings for the guy, and she knows that Trunks is a good guy and she's just saying things just to say things to get him to do things. But we'll see if if we ever get any more focus on the relationship between the two. Look, I think they're going to frickin' end up dating regardless when their bodies age to older, when Trunks is obviously like in his mid-20s and obviously Mai, body-wise, is in her age 20s. I think they're going to hook up, and they're going to be an item because the future timeline, Trunks and Mai were an item, so it makes sense that you would just set it up. It's probably just going to be more of a slower approach. And maybe Mai's just waiting for Trunks to be a little bit more mature and things like that. But it is what it is. That's kind of what we're left with in that kind of whole aspect. So, yes. Anyways, also too, Mai realized that Trunks' friend was a fake clean god. Anyways, Goten and Trunks catches up with Krillin. Krillin pretty much tells Dr. Hedo, like, okay, Dr. Hedo is the grandson of Dr. Gero, and he did all. Dr. Gero is this evil scientist that created Cell and everything, and we find out that like Trunks was actually got caught up to speed with everything, and even Krillin's like, man, you know your stuff. They make a mention, Trunks knows the Red Ribbon Army, things like that. So I must be guessing, but maybe Bulma must have told him about, when you were a baby, Gohan, your dad, and Goku had to fight this guy named Cell and everything. But we had to deal with this guy named Dr. Gero, who was a creation of Dr. Gero. So Trunks is up to speed with everything about that, and Krillin's like, oh, wow, you know your stuff. And now I kind of wish they made the reference, like, Trunks said, oh, no, Mom just told me about everything that happened. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing, because I wouldn't imagine that Vegeta would tell him anything about, oh yeah, I fought this guy named Cell. I made him go to his perfect form only to get my ass kicked. Your future self tried to frickin' do something about it, but he didn't do anything either. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing there, right then and there. Anyways, they're going after him. They're chasing after him. And trying to find his hideout. And we actually get confirmation from, like, I guess, Krillin's superior that, oh, the Red Ribbon Army is going after Dr. Hedo to recruit him into their ranks. So, somehow, the police did enough digging to realize that Magenta, the pharmaceutical company that he was running, was in reality the Red Ribbon Army. Now, the only issue I have with this point is this. Well, if Krillin's police force knew that the Red Ribbon Army was still at large, why was this not over the news then? Why wasn't Magenta's head not over the news that, guess what? The Red Ribbon Army is coming back. Now, maybe they didn't know it was being led by Magenta. But even then, that's somewhat kind of a plot hole or a plot inconvenience that makes no damn sense. How does this police force understand, okay, the Red Ribbon Army is coming back? Yeah, let's not talk about it on the airways. They made it seem like the Red Ribbon, and then what was the lengths the Red Ribbon Army had to go to hiding out their base and everything? To me, that's a weird hole right there, because in the movie, they never said on TV, oh, the Red Ribbon Army's at large again, from way back when. I understand they never thought of maybe making this arc for the manga, but jeez Louise, at least rewatch the movie and see, okay, what did we omit from the movie? What did we not omit from the movie? Because if you're telling me this police force understood that the Red Ribbon Army was at large, well then, what the hell were they never reported on TV airways that, oh, the Red Ribbon's at large and things like that? Because guess what? When Piccolo came back from going in secret to the Red Ribbon Army, he went back and told Bulma and everybody that the Red Ribbon Army's trying to make a comeback at large. And Bulma's just like, wait, really? Holy crap, that's actually a problem. Nobody knew about that. You would think the police force would come out and say, and have some sort of press conference the day after, saying that we captured Dr. Hedo because in fear of the Red Ribbon Army coming after him. You would think they would do something like that. No idea. So that is a plot hole from the movie. That is something that I will say is a criticism of this chapter. They make a plot hole in this chapter saying, well, this Krillin's police force knows the Red Ribbon Army is trying to make a comeback, and they want to get Dr. Hedo, who is Dr. Gero's grandson. Why was there no press conference in the movie addressing this, letting people know, hey, do not support the red pharmaceutical companies. That is actually the Red Ribbon Army. Now, maybe they don't know that it was the pharmaceutical company. Maybe they actually thought it was like somebody else leading the charge of the Red Ribbon Army. But the fact that they did not say like, hey, the Red Ribbon Army's out there. We're warning you people, be careful of anybody that is shady. So, that's kind of the thing there. Hold on a quick second. Okay, back. Anyways, you know, Trunks and Goten, they go along with Krillin, and they're like, yes, we get to help out, and things like that. Now, Krillin's like, okay, you can come. Just don't tell your mothers that what your guys are doing, because they'll kill my ass. I'm like, oh, yes, they will. Anyways, they show up at Dr. Hedo's base and everything. And then that's when Dr. Hedo releases his new android that he created, which is the Dino Droid #1. And this Dino Droid gives them some trouble. Some of the action panels in this fight was pretty good, but this Dino Droid is giving them issues and some problems and things like some things like that. And plus, the Dino Droid doesn't have much brain, so it's just destroying. It's just destroying everything and things like that. But you know, it's pretty strong that it's even taking their energy blast and things like that. So yeah, eventually. Krillin finds a weak spot. He uses the Destructo Disc to damage the weak spot area. Trunks and Goten, they turn into Super Saiyans, which, funny enough, Goten's Super Saiyan form, it looks a lot like freaking Gohan's Super Saiyan form back from the Cell games. His regular Super Saiyan hair form, so maybe that's an homage, but they use this move called Cyclone-style Tornado Double Hurricane, which sounds like one of their Gotenks moves they would do if they were fused as Gotenks. They defeat the Dino Droid. Krillin arrests Dr. Hedo. We find out what was in the disk drive, really. And we find out it was just a picture of him. Picture of Dr. Hedo with Clean God. And practically he said, well, I didn't want to lose that. I didn't really care for what the disc had the disc inside. And plus, I memorized everything what was on that disc anyways. But I was like, wait, there was a disc in there, but we later see in the distance, Goten was holding the disc. It's completely broken, you know, and things like that. So, yes. We find out that the zombies that Dr. Hedo took over control, they ended up going back to their families and things like that. Like, we see the football-looking one go back to his mom and things like that. So, yeah, and the chapter ends off with the fact that Dr. Hedo's in prison. Even though Dr. Hedo's sentence was long, they cut it to about 3 months because essentially they say, oh, he didn't really do much of anything, but yeah. But practically, we see how Dr. Hedo, he sends out Hachimaru, which is the bee little flying android, the one that had like the crazy toxins that could kill somebody right then and there. And practically he said, listen, giving up is not my style. I'm going to create the ultimate android, which is obviously a reference to Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 right then and there. So that's the last chapter. It's the last chapter of this prequel arc to Dragonball Super Hero. The next chapter we should be getting Dragonball Super Hero content. Don't know how long the manga, in terms of the movie content being adapted to the manga, will be. How long will that be is, but that's kind of the thing is, maybe I could see the chapter 91 cleaning up some stuff from this little prequel arc, but now we're going into the Dragon Ball Super Hero portion of this manga arc and thing like that. So again, my overall takes on this little prequel arc, you know, again, some people did not like what we got in this prequel arc, but honestly, I was like, you know, I've been critical of Dragon Ball Super, especially in the manga, especially with the Granola arc as of late, but honestly, I enjoyed this different take of Dragon Ball. You know, it's something different compared to the norm, and I appreciated the 3 chapters being focused on Goten and Trunks. You know, I know it's not the type of focus that people wanted out of Goten and Trunks, but I honestly was pleasantly surprised. I think the reason why people didn't like this, again, it's a monthly manga chapter release, but I enjoyed my time with this prequel arc, and I'm definitely down for more of these like chapters for like maybe 1 month, and then you get back to serious content, you know, and things like that. Maybe have like a filler chapter to just ease tensions and things like that. Like, you know, maybe between an arc, after an arc ends or something like that. But honestly, I enjoyed it. Some people were disappointed by this this prequel arc. And look, the good thing is this prequel arc wasn't like damn near 5-6 chapters or like half the year. It was only like Like, this prequel arc was only 3 chapters, and after that, you know, they're moving on to main content, things right then and there. But I enjoyed this. We got a lot of focus on Goten, Trunks, got what they were doing at the time before we saw them in Dragonball Super Hero, and what they're doing, so we kind of get an establishment of where their characters are going to lie. Obviously, you would have to imagine that they're going to help out in the battle against Black Frieza and his forces, right then and there, so that's kind of the thing there. So that'll be good, because I think that's when they'll bring back Gotenks for real. Teen Gotenks. Probably in the battle against Black Frieza. More than likely. So I definitely could see that. Again, you know, I know some people had some issues with the Trunks Mai relationship, about the weird things. I personally never had any issues outside of maybe the age gap, but I thought it was a nice, sweet, you know, relationship that they're building up right now. And I know, again, people are not down with that relationship, but I'm a sucker for a romance. I honestly kind of like the romance aspect. And I know Toriyama's not good at writing that stuff, but even then, it's like, I'm fine with what it is. We know where it's more than likely going to head. It's going to head to a Trunks and Mai relationship, where then they will be dating. More than likely, when they get older, they'll probably be a couple, and they'll probably get married and things like that, because guess what? That's kind of the same path future Trunks and future Mai were going down anyways. So, right then and there, as much as to people's chagrin that they don't like it and they cringe at it, it's just going to more than likely happen. It's going to probably be a more slower approach, but it's going to more than likely happen. You know, I just ultimately like this little mini arc we got. I was honestly surprised. It's a breath of fresh air. You know, it's not what people wanted, even though they asked that, oh, we want Goten and Trunks content, but, you know, it's not the type of content they want. Honestly enjoyed it. I know you can't please everybody, but, you know, personally, I got an enjoyment, especially coming off the granola arc that I was so happy to end, just to get a little bit of a breath of fresh air in terms of slice of life chapters, seeing Vegeta and Goku's sons, you know, even though they didn't do much, and they were kind of acting like how Gohan was acting when he went to high school, it's still cool to see, just to see, like, oh, okay, what they've been up to, because, you know, a lot of people have been asking, like, hey, what have Trunks and Goten been up to since we last saw them in the Boo arc? You know, things like that. So, you know, I don't mind this. Honestly, I like this stuff. And when it gets animated, I can't wait to see it animated. When the time comes. But anyways, that's kind of it. That's all the takes I want to give on. But that's pretty much it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. If you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this month's manga chapter of Dragon Ball Super. As well as hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Dragon Ball Super content. Or any other anime or manga content I have uploaded to the channel. And things like that. But till then, guys, stay safe out there and have a great rest of your day. Peace.